Hi guys, Kim Schofield here, back with another project. This week I'm going to be creating an art journal spread for the Crafters Workshop. This is a 2-page spread, and I'm going to start by using a 12 by 12 stencil, and I'm working in a Dilutions art journal, and I'm going to be using the gloss gel medium, which is also from the Crafters Workshop. You can find links below in the description to the products. So I'm just applying the gel medium through my stencil using the back of my palette knife. Now I'm not trying to get the complete design on the 2 pages. I really just want the middle portion of this stencil. And you'll see when I pull this up, it's not complete, and that's the way I wanted it to look. And then I'm going to repeat this on the second side once this side is dry. And then you'll see coming up here, this is what it looks like dried. That kind of milky, cloudy portion will go away once the gel medium completely dries. But you see it's a high gloss. And so I just used my heat gun to let that dry. And then I also put it aside while I die cut a whole bunch of these little houses and buildings. This is from a Tim Holtz stamp set, not a stamp set, I'm sorry, a die. And I have, I die cut a bunch of them out of designer paper, and then I grabbed a bunch of my favorite stencils, and I'm using a blending tool with some distress ink to apply that to all of the houses. So this is a little bit of a time-consuming process, but that's okay. It's easy and quick, and it's fun. It's great results. So you can see that. I'm going to end up covering the top of all of the houses with some vintage book text. So here you can see I have a whole bunch now of these houses. I didn't stencil on all of them, because some I thought I might make into little doors, layer them. So now I've also die cut a whole bunch of vintage book text, and that's going to go on the top of every single one of my houses. So they'll all have the same roof, and I'm just going to use a glue pen to add that book text onto the top, and that'll dry real quick because that vintage paper is very thin. And I'm going to do that on all of the little houses that I cut out. So now I'm going to add a little bit of brown ink around the edges. This is Gathered Twigs. And you can see some of my paper curled up, and I loved that look. I loved that. At first I kind of panicked, but then I ended up deciding I really liked it. So now I have some little tiny pearls that have an adhesive back on them, and I'm applying that to all of the houses just to cover up the edge between the vintage book text and the paper. So now my gel medium is completely dry, and I'm going to go ahead and add some paint. And this is just some Dina Wakley paint, and you can tell I'm being very precise with my paint application. Not really. So I'm really scrubbing that in because I want that to get down into all of the stencil line. So I don't want that paint just sitting on top of the gel medium. I'm scrubbing to make sure that it gets completely into the whole design there. And then I'm adding just a little bit of gesso, just so I have a little bit of white on the paper, included in the color. Again, being very precise with my paint application. And then I ended up adding, just putting a little bit of this orange color on my brush. And I loved the look of that against the blue. It almost had a patina look to it. And I'm just adding that in a few spots. And I'm not worrying about the bottom because the bottom part of the pages are going to be covered by the little houses. So after I started with this, I kind of thought it looked like snow, and that's really like snowflakes, and that's where it kind of started the entire design for this project. So now I am going over the entire gel medium design, the stenciled part, with a baby wipe. And this is not completely dry. I did not let this dry completely. So you can see on some of the places where maybe it dried a little bit, I'm scrubbing a little bit. But because the gel medium has a gloss finish, I'm able to rub some of that paint off. So now I'm watering down some gesso because since it looked like snowflakes, I'm going to create snow. So I wanted to have some little splotty dotties in the background with the white gesso. And so that's what that looks like there. So now this is completely dry and my houses are finished. So now I'm just going to lay them out and decide how I want to put them on the page. So I did use some gel medium to put them all down on the page, because not only does it give you this great resist technique, or you can use it for the resist technique, but you can also use it as a glue. And it held great. It held up really well. So I'm just using glue to apply all of my houses onto the page. I did let this sit overnight and dry before I did anything else. So now that everything is dry, and I'm sorry, this is going to go off frame a little bit here. I just cut off any excess of the houses that were hanging over the bottom part of my art journal pages. So now you can see there in my houses that I added a whole bunch of embellishments, some little metal embellishments, I added chimneys, and now I use some Tim Holtz letters to add my little sentiment dashing through the snow. These are chipboard letters, and so I use glossy accents to put those down, and then I'm adding a whole bunch of heavy jars of mediums onto the letters to hold them down. So you can see I ended up adding some rub-ons, I added some little die-cut windows, and now I'm going to take a cotton ball and some more glossy accents, and you could also use the gel medium for this. And I'm just going to put it along the bottom part of my layout to be little snowbanks. So that just about finishes up the art journal page for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have some of this gel medium, definitely give it a try. Would love to see what you create. Head on over to the Crafters Workshop blog and you can see photos and links to where to buy the products. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's video and happy crafting.